Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to The Owl House, Season 2, Episode 16. I know one thing about this, going into it. Unlike other episodes, I'm not completely blind. I do know that Hunter is involved. I don't know the depth to that, I just know he's involved. And okay, I guess two things technically. I know that it's important, but that doesn't actually tell you anything. Because pretty much every episode in Season 2B so far has been important. In fact, I would honestly say every episode has been. Either to character growth and development, or to story growth and development. One or the other, it has been, Season 2B has been extremely important. And as I've said in the past, it's possibly due to Season 3 being shortened and everything, and Dana and the crew having to push a lot more out a lot quicker than they maybe anticipated. But whatever the reason actually is, maybe it was planned like this all along, but the point is that's how it has been, and because of that, it's just been balls to the wall insane. And mind you, some people may look at it differently, but honestly, I'm not saying that I approve of what Disney did in basically effectively canceling the Owl House early. I don't approve of what they did at all, but at the same time, I kind of prefer it to be done this way. I've always been one who always prefers the episodes that are, important. Again, either to character or plot development. The episodes that tend to be a little more slice of lifey and just, random bullshit here and there. Those episodes usually don't interest me as much. Because most of the time they just don't do enough for me. Because it's just randomness, usually. It's just some random adventure or action sequence or whatever, depending on the series. And it's usually just there to pad out the season. And a lot of times to give a little more depth of character, but not actually, actually progress anything necessarily. Just like, it explains the character and their personality a little bit more. That's all. And it's like, I understand why those episodes are important, but I kind of like it when a series is just plot all the way through. I kind of prefer that in a way. Like, you look at a series like even Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra, even they have some episodes that just aren't as important. Episodes that are honestly filler. Not actually filler, because if you want the technical definition, that just refers to stuff that's not technically canon to the source material, but you know what I mean. It's filler in the fact that it fills out time. It's padding. And a lot of times, it's like, yeah, those can be good and enjoyable. Hell, some of them can even be really good. But a lot of the time, I always prefer when a series tends to be focused. And that admittedly is one benefit to a lot of shows nowadays, especially on streaming, being shorter in their episode lengths, with having like 6 to 10 episodes for a lot of more modern shows. it allows them to focus a lot more. Like you watch one of the Disney Plus MCU shows, like Moon Knight currently airing. It's like there's no padding. It's all story. It's all character. It's all important. And I like that. Now, obviously for a series that's a little more open in its presentation, like a little more comedy slice of lifey show, that works fine. But with Owl House, a lot of the more slice of lifey episodes are just honestly weaker, in my opinion. The story heavy ones are the ones that are always better, and generally speaking always have the best moments. Again, whether it's important to the characters or the overall plot, either way. And again, it's not always the case. It's not like a end-all be-all measurement, but I'm just saying I kind of like in a way that the second half of season 2 has been so focused and so directly to the point. Every episode has been just a non-stop banger, and it's just continuing to impress me. So when I say, like, I know that this episode is important, every episode in season 2B has been important. So it's like it's not saying much. And again, I also know it involves Hunter, so that could also mean a lot of things, considering where his development has gone throughout the season. But I'm definitely excited, obviously. I've had no reason not to be. So, I don't know what else to expect. We've gotten a lot of stuff with Rain this season. We've gotten a lot of stuff with just Bellows, honestly. Just learning more about his past as Philip and everything. Even seeing him in the past. So it's like, whatever's going to happen here, yeah, of course it's going to be big at this point. And yeah, we're really going to hope that as we continue, we only have like, 5 more episodes after this? 5 or 6 more episodes, something like that. I'm hoping it's just going to continue to keep that intensity throughout the entire rest of the season. I don't want a single one of these episodes to be padding. I want them all to be balls to the wall, important, and just really hammer that in. I want all kinds of big developments, all kinds of big moments. Whether, again, character, plot, doesn't matter, as long as it does one of those two things. You can have some like little slice of lifey moments in there and everything. But yeah, big stuff either way. So that's really all I've got to say. I know I myself padded out these pre-thoughts with a lot of just talking about, well, things being padded out. But it's something I just wanted to discuss, because I don't think I really mentioned before that I kind of, at least not more recently, that I prefer these kind of direct storytelling manners in shows. I think it's been pretty obvious for anybody who's watched the channel for a while, but still. Either way, we're just going to get into this, hope for the best, see what this episode has in store. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow a link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then it fades back in. Everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. We are back and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1 now. First things first, I'm glad I didn't say my thoughts on who the collector's voice was, because I would have been so excessively wrong It's not funny. I will say it now just because it's already out of the way. I thought it was Tara Strong. I'm not even kidding. The Collector, they sounded like Tara Strong. They were like just the way the vocal inflection and everything was. I could hear some Tara Strong in there, but I was thinking like it's like, no way, they didn't get her, did they? And no, it was apparently it was Frida Wolf. I don't know her from too much. I haven't really like known her from too many like shows or whatnot, or movies or games. One game I do know her for sure is WarioWare. She is Penny Krygor in WarioWare. And there's other games that it's like I know of and I've even seen played, but it's like, or at least a little bit. But it's like I don't really know any of these roles or anything. The only thing that I would actually know Frida Wolf from is Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts. She is the voice of Dahlia, one of Kipo's human friends from the Burrow. Asher's twin. So yeah, I have definitely heard her voice before, but not in this manner. It's definitely a very different voice. I moving from that is hard though, because it's like obviously we go into a lot of stuff with this series, and especially with season 2B. Like I said in the pre-thoughts, everything in the second half of the season has been massive, like just huge information, a lot of important character and story plot threads just kind of being tied together, and a bunch of lore being dropped, and it's been a really huge deal. And it's just like sometimes it is a lot. I won't argue. I can see why some people could make that argument, could make that statement that sometimes this constant lore dropping and everything and huge developments can feel like just a lot being thrown at us. And yeah, part of that probably is, again, at least my theory, because of season 3 having to be shortened and everything. But I think that even with as heavy as some of this can be, even with as legitimately shocking and just insane they can be, I still think I prefer this overall. But it's like I came into these afterthoughts. Like I needed to look up that voice, not only just because I wanted to know, but I needed to start things out a lot softer. Because it's like there's just a lot I can probably say about this episode, and I'm not going to be able to say it all. I'm just not going to be able to think of everything. I'm not going to be able to put a lot into words. And especially since this was a first-time reaction and everything. So I definitely have to see the episode more. But I can say with a lot of certainty that this is probably the most important episode of the series so far. There's been a lot of hugely important episodes. This episode is just on another level. We find out Belos's motive. And that is such a massive deal. We find out that he is a witch hunter. And we don't know if that was his intention when he first came to the Boiling Isles with his brother. But I'm kind of thinking it was. that he had maybe in the human world had been a witch hunter, had been maybe even someone like that guy we saw in the episode with V. God, I can't think of the name of the episode, but you know what I'm talking about. The episode with V. They've only appeared in 2 episodes, and one of them was in the background. But that one guy who was in the museum, and it was this big conspiracy theorist, flat earther, and everything. But he knew about witches. He knew all that existed. He knew about Ida, and he was right in a lot of things. And that was kind of what made his character kind of scary. The fact that he was correct about some things, and that he was trying to actively be a threat. He was a little more incompetent about it. I'm thinking that Philip and his brother, the Whittabanes, are the other end of that spectrum. They are the competent witch hunters, the competent conspiracists proven right. And they see, we don't know entirely why, but they see witches and demons and all of this, maybe just due to, standard fare when, like, people are being brought up and everything. It's like, of course, you think of, like, witches and demons as antagonistic creatures through fairy tales and whatnot, bedtime stories and everything. So they might have just been brought up that way. And because the conspiracies were proven true, and he and his brother discovered witches and were able to come here and everything, that he saw this as a threat, an active threat. And that's why they're witch hunters, and they want to wipe all of it out of existence. We also know that. We also know the goal. Philip's goal with the Day of Unity is to wipe all of witch and demon kind out of existence. Which fucking means he wants to wipe Amity out of existence, and I am really fucking, like, pissed at him for that. I'm not, like, I'm kind of kidding. I'm not kidding. That's the wrong way to put it. I'm kind of making a lighthearted joke about it because I need levity. But that genuinely scares me. I've stated before, I made an entire video about Amity being a comfort character for me, and anything that would put her in active danger freaks me out, honestly. Anytime a comfort character in anything would be put in active danger, it would freak me out. Because it's kind of like, I don't want a comfort character to be ripped away from me. You know? We find out Belos's motives, his goal, and we technically get full confirmation that he's Philip. Like, we knew this. The theory was long running. It was very competent of a theory. There was a lot of evidence. And then the episode where they went into the past and everything, a couple episodes back, basically proved it. Even before the ending scene that showed him absorbing the talisman. Like, there was so much irrefutable evidence in that episode. And then it's like, so really this was more confirmation to Luz, who hadn't really put that together yet. And I think I was surprised during the reaction when like she hadn't put that together yet and everything, and she was surprised by him being Philip. I think I was surprised that she didn't know, because it was so blatantly obvious. I just kind of assumed she figured it out, because it's like everybody instantly understood this. And it's like, yeah. And On top of that, the Palisman monster inside Belos's mind, like, holy fuck. I have seen a lot of horror based enemies in various shows or movies or games or whatnot, even when the series normally isn't horror based. Um, I've said this before. I love it when a non horror piece of media delves into horror for either an episode or a short period of time and makes it really work. Powerpuff Girls did this amazingly. Samurai Jack did this amazingly. And this series definitely has a little more leaning towards that than other shows. But it's like this is again, it's just another one of those things that is on an entirely other level. Like, that's the kind of imagery you would expect to see, like I said in the reaction, in Over the Garden Wall, a series that is blatantly a horror series, even if it wasn't like trying to be like super scary the entire time. It was horror in its themes and ideas, and there were a lot of things that were horror based, just not necessarily in the like, oh, spooky monster thing all the time. But you can imagine this kind of thing being in something like that. Hell, even Adventure Time, you could see this being in an Adventure Time. It definitely seems like the kind of thing you could witness in a random episode here or there, because Adventure Time definitely has delved into horror and horrific looking designs here and there. The Lich alone being a great example. But it's just, it seems like the inner Bellows the entire time. It's just this horrific monster. Then you find out the little kid that they've been following and everything has been the inner Bellows, and he knows who they are. He's been showing them the truth and everything, and it's like, and on the outside world, Ida and King and Hootie and Flapjack are working to help them get back, and you see some stuff with the resistance in the woods. You see, even though it never actually shows them directly, it's like obviously Rain, Darius, and Everwolf, and it's like I want to see more of their adventures. Honestly, it's great that they're working as a resistance. Okay. I've I don't know if it was noticeable on camera, but there were multiple points in this episode where I was shaking. Like, legitimately shaking. And there were multiple points where I had to try really hard and actively keep myself from crying. And it all centers on Hunter. This episode was needed, and the events were needed for Hunter. Like, this very clearly, and now I am crying. This very clearly needed to happen. It was always going to happen. He was brainwashed, and he needed to see somehow the truth. I had no idea how it was going to happen. I was not expecting this shit. But this episode breaks my heart so fucking bad for him. Hunter is a very popular character in this series, and I've never been quite on the train for him. Like, I like him. I've always liked him since his debut, even before, like, we knew he was Hunter, when we just knew he was the Golden Guard. I've always liked him. But it's like, after he was revealed as Hunter, it's like you start liking him more and more. You start to see his real personality, and then you start to see how he's treated. You start to see little glimpses of hope when he just talks to others and shows his softer side and his vulnerable side. And it's like you understand, it's like, oh, obviously we're going to see him get redeemed at some point. Obviously he has to be awakened to the horrible shit that is going down, that Belos is truly the bad guy. And then you see like a couple episodes back with Willow and everything, he makes friends, and he doesn't understand how bad what he's doing about trying to forcefully recruit them into the Emperor's Coven is. And it's just it just kept making me wonder how he was going to see the light. I don't know what I expected. I honestly, I don't know if I could say I did expect anything. I couldn't think of a way that it was going to happen. But it would have never been this. And I think it would have never been this because I would have never wanted anyone to go through something like this. I think it's very clear by his panic attack at the end, and that was 100% a panic attack, speaking as someone who's had them, that this has shaken him to his core, that he almost died, that everything, all his beliefs have been turned on their heads, that he now sees Belos for the evil he is, and he's scared shitless because he also has seen kind of the hints of what happened to his predecessors. And seen through this episode as he realizes this more and more every time they see something. And at first he's refuting it. He's trying his best to refute. He's trying to make excuses. He's like, "Oh no, this probably meant just this and this. Belos probably was doing it for this reason. He has good intention. He's helping others." And then it's like, but as it goes on, you can see he's cracking more and more, and you can see his faith is wavering more and more, until eventually he stops refuting. He stops making excuses, and by the end, he breaks. And it broke me. There's a reason the Hunter stuff was the last thing I wanted to bring up in this, because it's really hard. It's hard to watch a character who had such undying blind faith in someone be so forcefully ripped away from that, to have that wool pulled so forcefully off their eyes that it causes them legitimate pain. It's hard because I've been there, and it is one of the worst feelings in the world. It's a good thing overall. It's a very good thing overall. It is important that it happens, but it can break you. Hunter at the end there, even when they got out and everything, it's like just the tearing off his cape, just the panic attack, running away, like, I can't talk about this anymore. I'm sorry. There's a lot of personal stuff in this for me. A lot of really emotional, heavy shit. That it's like I'm very open about myself, but it's like there's a lot that I don't want to talk about all the time because of its impact, I guess you could say. I think my feelings are pretty clear. I think it's pretty clear that I did like this episode. I want to make that abundantly clear. I did like this episode. I can't talk about it anymore. I'm Connie. I'm signing off. See you all next time.